the unbiased news. Supreme Court formally asked to overturn landmark same-sex marriage ruling. Gay as in happy, always.
The Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriage across the United States. It could now be overturned. Senior Washington correspondent Devin Dwyer is on the story for us.
Let's see.
All right, give us the deal, Devin. Who is actually asking the justices to overturn this?
Everybody was warning against this. Everybody was saying LGBT rights will be rolled back. They will start with trans people, and then sooner or later they will go for the gays. They will go for gay marriage. And everybody said, no, that's not gonna happen. You don't know what you're talking about. And we are where we are. Brilliant.
Well, in recent years, Kira, we've been waiting for a case like this as some of the sentiment in the country has started to shift a little bit, softened rather, against...
Yes, that is brilliant. The fact that human rights should be contingent on sentiment of citizens. Oh, should you have rights today? Well, I don't know how I feel about that now. My sentiment has softened on whether or not you should have rights. Maybe you shouldn't. That is such a ridiculous concept. There's a great quote by I think it was early 90s newspaper clip in which some Polish thinker said that the nature of democracy, the very concept of democracy, is not about mob rule of the majority imposing their rights on or rather imposing their will on the minority groups. It is about having representative government that will protect the rights of the minorities. It shouldn't be about, oh, how do people feel about these people having rights today? Oh, overall citizenry does not feel in favor of these people having rights? Well, then maybe they shouldn't. That's not how this should work.
Well, in recent years, Kira, we've been waiting for a case like this.
We've been waiting for people to have the rights stripped away because
as some of the sentiment in the country,
has shifted.
Started to shift
Brilliant.
A little bit, softened rather, against same-sex marriage. There's
Brilliant.
been a lot of talk about whether the justices will get a chance to reconsider the case. And as you said there, they are getting that opportunity next month. We've learned that Kim Davis, she's that Kentucky clerk from back in 2015 that was at the center of international controversy when she refused to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple in Kentucky in defiance of the Supreme Court. She spent 6 days in jail. She lost a defamation suit. She had to pay $100,000 in damages, $260,000 in legal fees. That's what she's appealing to the Supreme Court. But it's the first time, Kira, that anyone has technically asked the justices explicitly to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, which was that landmark ruling. And she does just that. Her counsel in this petition, which was filed last week, says that decision was egregiously wrong. And if that sounds familiar, that's the same type of argument.
Yeah, giving people rights is just egregiously wrong. It's egregiously wrong for people to have dignity and to be able to just form unions together. Egregiously wrong.
That was made by opponents of abortion when they sought to overturn Roe versus Wade just a few years ago. So a lot of eyes on this petition. It's unclear whether the court will take it up, but certainly a lot on the line.
Well, is there any indication that justices will consider hearing?
It could very well happen considering just what the makeup of the Supreme Court is. Who said those words about democracy? Oh God, I actually don't have this. I don't have the script with me. Like I don't even have this in this particular house. I found it while rummaging some old materials. It was a few years back, but the quote stuck with me that the essence of democracy is not about mob ruling over a minority, but rather a representative government protecting the interests of everybody and minorities. I wouldn't be surprised if it feels familiar. It's a pretty good quote. I'll try to look it up and I will try to find who said it. Remind me from time to time. I'll need to do some cleaning and rearranging, so I'll probably try to hunt down the quote. It's pretty good.
Arguments?
Well, a lot of the legal experts I've talked to say there's no chance the Supreme Court will want to wade into this. But, the climate that we're in right now, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Certainly, we are in the midst of a campaign against same-sex marriages across the country. At least 9 states so far have either passed legislation seeking to end those rights or specifically asked the Supreme Court, send resolutions to the
There
Supreme
you go. Just end people's rights. Because I find gay people icky, therefore they should not have any consideration or rights. Next thing, we should just bring back conversion therapy. Why not? Why the hell not?
Court asking them to revisit. You saw the Southern Baptist Convention, the nation's largest Protestant Christian group, just last month.
Oh, Protestant Christian groups. Yeah, they should definitely be deciding on people's right to marry. Yeah, what happened to the division of the state and the church? What happened to the separation of state and church? They are trying to bring back conversion therapy. Oh, jolly. Oh, I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy that people are going to be cured from who they are. I'm so glad that we're living in the timeline that we're living in. That separation of church and state is a joke, and that fundamentalist Christian groups can just dictate law on minority rights. This is just an amazing development. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Supreme Court actually took this on, considering its makeup. Maybe it would, but it's currently... Okay, it is also important to remember that there's a little bit of a distinction between the organized church as an institution and those little creepy fundamental organizations. And the division of church and state in theory should involve both. Not just the organized institution of the church, but also all those fundamental Christian orgs that try to influence politics. Because they're not exactly the same thing. Not exactly the same.
They voted to make overturning Obergefell a top priority. So there's a renewed effort by activists in this space to try to get the attention of the Supreme Court. And a lot of them, Kira, are pointing to comments by Justice Clarence Thomas, the senior conservative, who after the Dobbs decision, the one that overturned abortion rights in this country, he said in his opinion that he thinks it's time to take a look again at marriage rights. So anything can happen. It's on the table. But most legal experts think that the chances are less likely than not, Kira.
Got it. Devin Dwyer, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I'm always so happy and so excited and so giddy when a small group of lunatics feels that it can dictate what people should and shouldn't be able to do with their lives. Oh, the person that I loved wants to visit me in the hospital. Well, too bad, because Group X of fundamentalist Christians has decided that the person that I love should not be able to visit me at the hospital. We're raising a child together. Well, if something happens to me, too bad. They won't be able to take care of my child because the child's going to go to an orphanage. Why? Because we cannot be officially together, because this group of fundamentalist Christians have decided that should not be a thing. It is ridiculous. It brings real harm. This sort of thing actually ends in real harm. Well, from what I understand, these sort of initiatives come rather than... Especially since I don't think the Catholic Church per se has a very strong presence in the US. I think Protestant churches have, as far as I understand, a much bigger presence. The Protestant denomination has a much more bigger presence in the US than the Catholic Church. So I'm not even sure if that's a topic. And also, as far as I understand it, again, you have these Christian... Well, there's not really one church overall, that's the thing. You don't really have one church overall. You have 1 billion denominations, you have 1 billion different churches, quote unquote. Separate organizations, churches, conglomerations, etc. You don't really have one united church per se. And then you have those fanatical orgs, religious orgs, who made it their life mission to make other people's lives miserable. And this is where we end up with this former Kentucky clerk. Yeah, officials should just be able to deny giving people marriage licenses because it hurts their religious feelings. That makes perfect sense. People having rights, the mistake must be corrected. People being happy, that mistake must be corrected. Brilliant. If there ever was a case of exceptional importance, Staver wrote, the first individual in the Republic's history who was jailed for following her religious convictions regarding the historic definition of marriage, this should be it. Yeah, what a joke. Again, division of state and church. Lower courts have dismissed Davis's claims, and most legal experts consider her bid a long shot. A federal appeals court panel concluded earlier this year that the former clerk cannot raise the First Amendment as a defense because she is being held liable for state action, which the First Amendment does not protect, as it should not. Davis, as the Rowan County clerk in 2015, was the sole authority tasked with issuing marriage licenses on behalf of the government under state law. So again, division of state and church. You cannot hide behind your religious feelings not to do your job. Not a single judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals showed any interest in Davis's rehearing petition, and we are confident the Supreme Court will likewise agree that Davis's arguments do not merit further attention. That is not a guarantee, considering who is in the Supreme Court, said William Powell, attorney for David Ermold and David Moore, the now married Kentucky couple that sued Davis for damages, in a statement to ABC News. A renewed campaign. So far in 2025, at least 9 states have either introduced legislation aimed at blocking new marriage licenses for LGBTQ plus people or passed resolutions urging the Supreme Court to reverse Obergefell at the earliest opportunity, according to the advocacy group Lambda Legal. Of course, that group actually sounds very familiar to me. Some Republican lawmakers increase calls against gay marriage. Scottish ruling.
The Supreme Court is the highest judicial body in the entirety of the United States.
The Constitution creates one Supreme Court. The size of the court isn't in the Constitution, but the existence of it is.
So there you go. Conservative legislators are increasingly speaking out against the Supreme Court's landmark 2015 ruling on same-sex marriage equality. I want to know which states these are. Michigan. Well, Poland is far from ready for even discussing gay marriage, so that's not even a Poland. Poland is a very anti-LGBT country, so it's not even a topic. Gay marriage. Civil unions is barely a topic in Poland. Support for equal marriage rights softening. Again, it should not be a matter of popular opinion whether or not people should have rights. While a strong majority of Americans favor equal marriage rights, support appears to have softened in recent years, according to Gallup. 60% of Americans supported same-sex marriage in 2015, rising to 70% support in 2025. But that level has plateaued since 2020. Among Republicans, support has notably dipped over the past decade, down to from 55% in 2021 to 41% this year. Davis, like with abortion, pro-lifers point to some harm. What is the harm of 2 men or 2 women marrying? Davis' petition argues the issue of marriage should be treated the same way the court handled the issue of abortion in its 2022 decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. She zeroes in on Justice Clarence Thomas' concurrence in that case, in which he explicitly called for visiting Obergefell. I have no clue how they justify overturning it. Like what? People marrying offends some people on religious basis? Maybe pork should be banned. That offends some people on religious grounds. The justices should reconsider all of this court's substantive due process precedents, including Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. Thomas wrote at the time, referring to the landmark decisions dealing with a fundamental right to privacy, due process, and equal protection rights. Yeah, people, the land of the free. brilliant. The US is truly becoming the land of the free. It is hard to say where things will go, but this will be a long slog considering how popular same-sex marriage is now. Ruling wouldn't invalidate existing marriages. Wow, that makes me feel so much better. If the ruling were to be overturned at some point in the future, it would not invalidate marriages already performed. Legal experts have pointed out that, yeah, because the law does not work in retrospect. It does not work in reverse. That's one of the basic rules of law, period. The 2022 Respect for Marriage Act requires the federal government and all states to recognize legal marriages of same-sex and interracial couples performed in any state, even if there is a future change in the law. Davis first appealed the Supreme Court in 2019, seeking to have the damages suit against her tossed out, but her petition was rejected. Conservative Justices Thomas and Samuel Alito concurred with the decision at the time. This petition implicates important questions about the scope of our decision in Obergefell, but it does not cleanly present them, Thomas wrote in a statement. Many LGBTQ plus advocates say they are apprehensive about the shifting legal and political landscape around marriage rights. So we will see. If we will see a rollback on gay marriage, then we will truly know that the United States has decayed as a democracy and a place that cares about human rights. Well, and we will know that it's moving closer to Russia. Who knows, maybe with time, being LGBT will be declared an extremist thing, just like in Mother Russia. Who knows? We're certainly moving in a direction. We are certainly going somewhere. Isn't that great? Do you feel happy about the current development in the world, in the United States? Well, it is what it is. We are living in the current year, which has not been the most merciful.